That is quite a view, I'm sure you agree. The village of Agios Nikolaos, and then further along the coast, the seaside resort of Stoupa. Hello there and welcome back to the channel. We're in Greece again today and we're on the beautiful Mani Peninsula. We've got the car and today we are heading into the hills. One of the things I really love about this part of Greece is that you can drive just a few kilometers from the coast and the beach up into the hills and you feel like you're in the real Greece. There's some stunning little villages. Sadly, many of them have got very few people living there nowadays. But anyway, it's always wonderful to have a wander around. We're going to visit at least a couple of those today and show you a little bit of the mountain villages of the West Mani area of the Peloponnese right here in beautiful Greece. And our first port of call today is the pretty little village of Pergos. Now Pergos stands on a little ridge. You can see it from all along the coast with its tall church tower, which we'll show you in a second. And we've walked around this village quite a few times and rarely seen anybody. But apparently it is now bucking the trend a little bit and more people are starting to move back here, which is good news. But it's a very pretty little place, as you'll see. A nice sunny little spot to sit in and have a coffee. Quite often you'd expect to see a black-clad elderly lady sitting there, passing the time of day with her friends. And when you come down these little side passages, the white painting on the floor, always a sure sign that you're on the approach to a church. You'll see that in all the Greek villages. I'm not quite sure what the significance is, but you can tell, and there it is, look at this. This isn't the main church, this is just one of several little churches that you find dotted around these beautiful old Greek villages. That's a very old tower. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at the pretty colourful picture on the side there. And then you can always tell it's a cared for church. It's actually got quite a new looking door inside, but look at the beautiful flowers around the archway as well. Hello little friend, hello. One of the locals, a nice welcome for us.
Oh,
hello mate.
Sweetie pie.
And there it is, that lovely little church there. And quite often these tiny little churches are just open for their name day. So if it's Agios Nikolaos or Agios Spiridon or whatever, they just open for their Saint's Day each year. This is pretty. Look at the beautiful flowers, isn't that just gorgeous? And this one, well, it's going to be a bit of a job to get this up and running again, but maybe one day, you never know. So look at the arch there. So would that have been maybe part of a kitchen or something like that? And you can see there would have been an upper floor as well. What history lies behind this building, and I guess we'll never know. And like most of these hillside Greek villages in this region, you get some houses like the one we've just seen that are still very much derelict and others that have been beautifully restored. And one of those is this lovely tower here, done it in the style of a Mani tower. Fancy buying a traditional old village house? Here's one. For sale, probably be bought by somebody from Germany or Austria or Scandinavia. And right opposite to it, another little church. We'll come back along here a little bit later on. The name of this place might indicate maybe British owners. And yes, you can stay up here in Pergos as well. And as you can hear in the background, always work going on in these little villages, but that's good. It means that they're being restored, which is how it should be. And here it is, the main church here in Pergos, and you can see this church tower from all over the coast because it sits right on a ridge looking down over the coastline. I'll show you the view in just a second. And actually there do seem to be a few more people wandering around than we're used to seeing here in Pergos, which is more encouraging. That is quite a tower, isn't it? And it's quite traditional with some of these Greek churches to have the bell tower as a separate structure to the building itself. That one is attached, but it's not actually part of the main church, as you can see. So this is the church of Agios Nikolaos, St George, and Nina has just read a notice on the gate that says there is a wedding here today.
Yeah, it says between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. It's quite late, really.
Yeah, I suppose, well, I was going to say when it gets a bit cooler, but actually between 4 and 6 it is pipingly hot.
Yeah, it is.
And strangely, I was just going to say, at our apartments last night, there was a hen night. There was about 8 or 12 Greek girls, all having a good time. And they said they were going to a wedding today, so maybe this is the one, you never know.
Yeah, they were all beautifully dressed and very well behaved. It was lovely.
The Greek flag wafting in the breeze, and a fantastic view from the church across the Bay of Messina. You can see Stoupa right there in front of us. We will be doing that in a separate video. I'll take you for a little wander along the seafront there. And then there is what we think of our village, because it's where we always stay, Agios Nikolaos, St Nicholas. Love it there. And then all the way along the coast to Agios Dimitrios, and then down into the deeper Mani. So beautiful. So what's the story of the Mani towers that I've mentioned a couple of times? Well, it's very traditional in this part of Greece, the Mani Peninsula at the bottom of the Peloponnese. In days gone by, many hundreds of years ago, a lot of the families used to feud with each other. And they were very protective over their properties, over their growing land and all sorts of other bits and pieces. And quite often it developed into shooting, fighting, and even worse. And they used to build their houses in the style of a tower simply for defensive purposes. And quite often they'd be known to fire cannons across at each other, even within a small village. Quite incredible. Nowadays most of those villages are ruined or they've been restored in different ways, but there are still some. There's one further down the peninsula called Vathi, which is absolutely wonderful, probably the best example of a collection of Vathi, of Mani tower houses that there still is. Absolutely wonderful. We'll take you there on another holiday, I think. I don't think we'll make it down there this time. Alongside the church, a little monument commemorating people who've been lost in conflict. 1912, 13, 1940, up to 47. Of course, they had a civil war at one stage here in Greece as well, didn't they? These would be the locals from the village who lost their lives. Yeah, so there's the sign telling us about the wedding and asking people not to park here between 4 and 8 tonight. What a beautiful place for a wedding here. Stunning. Just imagine those pictures they're going to be getting. And how do we know what they said? Well, there's a really brilliant app called Google Lens. Highly recommended.
Oh, I thought I'd done it all in Greek.
I'm back walking through these lovely little streets. I remember the very first time we came here, which was in 2005, and I think it was around here, Nina,
Yep.
And we met an old black-clad Greek widow,
Yes.
Yaya, and she was surrounded by kittens.
Yes.
And she picked up one of the kittens and she allowed us to take her photograph. And it was quite a magical moment. And we showed her on the screen of the digital camera, and by her reaction, she'd never seen a digital camera before. And it was just lovely. And she was very, very friendly. And this is effectively the main square of the village and the little cafe, the ossuary, with some people enjoying a morning coffee over there. Nice place to sit. And there's a very special tree just over here, which we're going to show you. Here you are, there's not much left of it nowadays. But there is a sign on it that says 500 years old. Well, the first time we saw that sign was 20 years ago, so it's obviously now 520 years old, but not much of it left, sadly. But at least there's a bit of it still there. I don't think it's actually growing, is it? It's just propped up and held in place by chains. But there you go, 500-year-old piece of tree. And this is the village museum, which I've never yet seen open. There's a collection of all sorts of bits and pieces in there. It's not really dedicated to anything in particular. Oh, hello there. But I think occasionally it opens and you can go and have a wander around. It's not very big, and just see what there is.
I just love this use for the old feta and the olive oil tins. Look at this. Makes a little garden.
Yeah, you see it a lot.
Yeah.
Nothing goes to waste. And another house with a fabulous view down to the coast there. Fancy staying somewhere different in Greece with a view? Here you are. Could do worse. You need a car though, let me tell you that much. So there you go, that was Pergos. It's a lovely little village.
It's really nice, and there is a bit more life about it, actually.
Definitely more people around than before, which is encouraging. So we're going to move on even higher up into the hills, and we're going to take you to a very special little village that has a connection with chestnuts. What's that all about? We'll show you a little bit of the road up there as well. It's really beautiful. Variety of signs on the lamppost. That's sadly announcing that somebody has passed away. Notice for the museum, you see they have got a sign for it. For the Cafe Ossuary as well. And this is new since we were last here.
It certainly is.
The Pergos sign.
Yeah.
And in case any guests for the wedding later on didn't know where the church is, that says to the Church of Agios Nikolaos, St George's.
Now, one of the reasons we think that some of the life has come back into Pergos is that Manny Blowell, who is an organic olive oil producer and an incredible quality, that's actually one of the tanks that's either come out or going in. They actually employ a lot of people around here, and they take their olives from like a cooperative of farmers, but they've got very, very strict rules and regulations. So we'll just drive past and show you. It's a fabulous place inside. We were lucky enough to go in actually at one time and have a private tour. So that's the factory, and as you can see, they're doing tours. They do fabulous olive oils, all flavours. It looks like the factory and shop are actually open to the public now between 9 and 3:30 Monday to Friday. I would recommend trying their olive oil. It is stunning. As you can see, we're coming up to a road junction. Now, if we go right, we go to Kariavouni and Milea. And can you believe the bus comes up here? There's a little bus station stop there. Good grief. We're actually going this way though, and we're going to Castania. This is the main road, and it gets a little bit exciting at times. In the lee of the hill, you can just see past the two cypress trees the edge of Castania, very tucked away. They never really wanted to be seen from the sea, safe from the pirates. We get a little bit more of a view in a second as we turn this corner.
Right, so we've parked up. This is about as far into the village as I feel happy driving. It gets very steep and very narrow after this, but it's only a short walk. And you get to park by this lovely little church, Agios Nikolaos. And I remember this years ago when we first came, being very derelict. And they've done a great job on restoring it. Let's see if we can have a look inside. It's tiny, but it's beautiful. Well, we're in, but it's very dark. But that's where you can come and light a candle for a loved one who's no longer with us. Little chair to have a rest. And the very tiny altar. But you can see, hopefully you can see, it's so dark in here, but just a few of the old frescoes there that they've managed to restore. And these are hundreds of years old. What a lovely little church. Just one of several here in Castania, and we'll show you a couple more of those as we get into the village proper. So what is the connection with chestnuts? Well, Castania is very famous in this region for its chestnut festival. And it's always held around October time, I think, isn't it, Nina?
It is mid-October.
Mid-October. And the whole of the village square and all of this road leading up has people cooking chestnuts, doing other sorts of food, traditional Greek food. In the square you have dancing, music, and they get hundreds of people coming up here, and the whole road for hundreds of meters back is just full of cars from people who've come up from Stoupa and Agios and other places in the area. And they have a great night. I'd love to be here for it, actually.
Yeah, we've always missed it, haven't
Always
we?
missed it. We're always just gone by the time it starts.
But the word Castania means chestnut.
I do believe it does.
Yes.
And there are several places in this part of Greece with the same name. Fancy a doer upper? This is for sale. There's your phone number. You do see a lot of these very old houses will say Politai. That's what it says in Greek on the side. That means for sale. Yeah, maybe a job for Bob the Builder. Right, so we're turning off the road and towards the village centre. The first thing we see is this fine example of an old Manny tower. This is called the Dourakis Tower. Really the centrepiece of the square here in Castania. If few years ago, a lot of money was spent on restoring this, and they've done a superb job. I think there may have been some EU funding involved as well. And I remember coming into the little village square here a few years ago, and there was just builders' vans everywhere and rubble, but they really have done a great job. So there's the tower as it used to be. Dates from the late 18th century, and you can see on these pictures the work that was done in the restoration, and information in Greek and English. Really is a beautiful little square here in Castania. Just imagine the atmosphere here when the chestnut festival's on, with all the stalls and the smell of the food and the dancing and the music. Another church in front of us there, that's the church of the Koimesis, a beautiful example of that sort of church. And two little tavernas here. The one on the right hand side that we've eaten at and drunk at quite a few times, might have a frappe there in a bit, and another one just across the other side as well. So pretty. I'll tell you a little story about the taverna on the right hand side in just a second. Little information board. I think this is new since we were last here, showing a map first of all of the village. We're parked just down here, but you can see how big the village is, and it's quite deceptive actually, because of all the narrow little alleyways and houses tucked away, and you can see here all the different structures that there are to see in the village. Definitely worth a visit.
There's actually 10 Byzantine churches here in Castania, dating from the 12th to the 15th century.
And this is a map of the Mani Peninsula, the centre peninsula at the bottom of the Peloponnese, and we are just here, Castania. So just inland from Stoupa, just a few kilometres, but it is really a different world. And how wonderful to sit here in the square underneath the walls of the church and have a meal or something to drink in one of the lovely tavernas. Some of the churches are really tucked away. You'd never know they were there without the brown signs. This is the church of Agios Prokopios. As you probably realised, Agios means saint. Agios is the male saint. Agia is the female saint. Let's have a look in here. Dark again, but oh so pretty. And as you walk out of the square, it's so pretty with the whitewashed walls, the old houses here, and pretty much most of the time you've got the white painting on the floor, because no matter where you are in Castania, you're never far away from a church. Another beautiful old iron gateway look. And I think at this junction we go left, if my memory serves me right. Oh yes, obviously, somebody's house there. This is what it's like, little windy alleyways. We're setting the dogs off. And onwards we go. Another junction, so do we go left or do we go right? I think we go up here. Yeah, I think so. And just look at the wonderful bougainvillea spilling over the wall. And a very nice little cool terrace to sit and have your drink in outside this house. Now the top of here is a lovely church that we saw being restored many years ago. It's called Agios Petros, St. Peter's, and you can tell we're getting closer by all the elaborate paintings on the ground here. Here's Nina, you're doing well to come up this slope.
Gosh.
Just met by one of the local putty cats.
What are the putties?
And yes, even in the back streets of this remote mountain village, yeah, you can rent an apartment. There you are, Villa Castania. If you want something really different, maybe even just for a couple of nights, that would be quite beautiful, wouldn't it? So another junction, and there's obviously another church up there. I think we've never been to that one, but this one is definitely worth visiting. This is St. Peter's, Agios Petros. Isn't that just a stunning location? Beautiful. Yeah, just in case you fancied staying here at the Villa Castania, there's your phone number. You need to put the Greek code on front of that, 0030 I think it is. And then just below it you can see the tower of yet another church, and then lower down the Dourakis tower in the village square. So we've already climbed a fair way. Yeah, this is the highest church in Castania, Agios Petros. And I remember we came here for the first time probably 2005, I think. On that holiday we came up here in the car, and this was still pretty much semi-derelict, but there was a sign saying they'd had EU funding for some restoration. We have been a couple of times since, but let's see what it looks like nowadays. Here's the little entrance, and once again you can see the bell tower slightly separated from the main body of the church. Once again you get information sign in Greek and English. Tells you about Agios Petros Church here, St. Peter's. Dates back to the 3rd quarter of the 12th century. It's full of some really rare frescoes that have been beautifully restored. They've been bought out of virtually nothing, having been covered up by cement and just grime over the decades and the centuries. And we'll go inside, we'll show you what it looks like now. Here we are inside. Immediately you can see one of the frescoes here, obviously Jesus. And you can see the work that's been done to restore that. And into the inner part of the church. Sorry it's so dark here. Don't have any studio lights with me, unfortunately. But let me tell you, it's just beautiful. Once again, the dome and patterns right up to the very top. So peaceful. And all the lovely view out of the window. You can see it won a prize for the restoration, the European Union Prize for Cultural Heritage 2016, and very well deserved as well. And from here, a view down across the village of Castania. Really do love this place. Right, I've left Nina sitting on a nice little shady wall. She's going to be doing a little bit of sketching, and I'm going to take you to the very top of Castania. And if we can get up there, I'll show you what can be quite a scary graveyard. Well, not scary as such, but I mentioned in my other video what they do in Greek graveyards, and I'll show you again in a second. So we've reached the very top of Castania. This would, in the old days, have been a washing place where the ladies of the village would have come up and bought their clothes and washed them in there. Can you believe it? This is a little bit sad. Not everything has been restored. I remember years ago there was a lovely little taverna here, and you could come up here if you wanted to be a little bit cooler in the shade. And sadly, it is no more. This used to be a lovely place to come. What a shame. But still, I suppose there's only so many visitors. I think they used to have part of the Chestnut Festival up here as well. That's a pity, isn't it? And because we are at the highest point of Castania, this is where some of the mountain streams come down from the hills, from the Taygetos. There's one of your water stations where you could fill up your water bottles. And another little washing point here for water, still working. Look, still some water dribbling out of there. And a lovely little leafy glade. If you want to be cooler, come up here, it's lovely. Now, Castania is generally regarded as being very much an end-of-the-road village, high up in the mountains. That's where that's really as far as you can go with the car, but not quite true. If you've got a four-wheel drive, or maybe something like this little gizmo down here, then you can carry on up this road. Now, it's not recommended in a normal car. You definitely need something like a Land Rover or something with at least a lot of clearance. That road, or should I call it a lane, takes you high and higher and higher, way up into the Taygetos mountains, where it joins another track, and then for mile after mile you go across the ridge on the top of the mountains, and eventually you would come to a monastery called the Panagia Iatrissa. Some people around here call it the space station monastery, because from down below it does actually look like a space station. It's quite strange. It's a torturous journey. I've never done it myself, but I've seen other videos of people that have. Yeah, you've got to be brave to do that, and you've got to be in the right vehicle as well. But yeah, if you want to, you can carry on up that road and have an adventure. Are we going to do that in our hire car today? I don't think the hire car company would be too happy about it. Yeah, that scary road takes you right up to the top, way up there, and as you can imagine, it zigzags, goes up and down and down and up, zigzags again. A pretty torturous journey, and then it would bring you out at the monastery that's quite a few kilometres off to the right there. But when you reach the monastery, you're right on the ridge of this part of the mountains, which means you can see down both sides of the Mani Peninsula. You can see the Laconian Gulf down one side and the Gulf of Messina on this side. I've never seen that view, but one of these days we're going to make it up there one way or another. And as you can probably hear, I'm a little bit out of breath. That's because I've climbed and climbed again, and we are here at Castania Cemetery, the graveyard. They always seem to put them in really inaccessible places, so how elderly relatives get up here to tend to the graves, I have no idea. But anyway, let's go and have a look. And so here we are, Castania Cemetery, high above the village in a beautiful location. And of course, if you've watched our other video where we visited the cemetery in Agios Nikolaos, you'll have heard me saying that in most Greek graveyards they only stay buried for just a few years, and then they dig up the bones, they wash them off, and they put them into a box, and they put them into a building at the end of the graveyard which is called the ossuary. And you can see here somebody there whose grave has already been broken up, and he only died in November 2020, and already his time in this graveyard is up. He'll be in a box in the ossuary. But I love how they always put the pictures on the graves so you can see what they look like. Here's one where they've already dug up the bones, and I think it was around this part of the graveyard a few years ago that I came up and there was a grave that had been emptied, but the coffin was still down there. You could still see the coffin and the silk interior of it, but they had removed the body, or the bones as it would have been, put them in the box, but the coffin was still there. It was quite creepy, even in such a hot, sunny place as this. But if you want a grave with a view, well, you've certainly got them here. So the building at the bottom of the graveyard there, that's the ossuary, that's where all the bones are kept in boxes. So they tend to take the pictures with them and the little nameplates where possible, and they're basically all stacked up on shelves inside there, and there they will stay. I hope it's not too disrespectful to show you this, but this is inside the ossuary. See the boxes stacked up there, all of them with the bones in, but they've kept the pictures, look. Some relatives have obviously been up here to do the candles. So this is how you end up. Anyway, enough of death and bodies and graveyards. We're in a beautiful place here in the Greek mountains. I'm going to go off and find Nina. Hopefully she'll have done a little bit of sketching, and then we're back down into the little square in the village, and maybe a frappe or something like that would be quite nice. Set the dogs off. Working our way back down the pretty little streets to the square again. He's not happy that we're infringing on his territory. And here we are back in the lovely little square. So which taverna should we go to? Oh, and I think I mentioned that I had a little story about the taverna on the left hand side. Okay, I'll try and make it brief for you. When we first visited Castania back in 2005, I had a Canon camera with me, and it was one of those that had a flip out screen at the back, so I could turn the camera around but see what was behind me on the screen, if you know what I mean. We were sitting at that taverna over there, and there was a very, very Greek looking gentleman behind me with his big moustache, and he was reading a Greek newspaper, and I thought, what a wonderful scene, and I took a candid picture of him. We then entered that into a photography competition which was run by a magazine called Greece. Not the musical, but all about the country, and it ended up winning. We actually won a holiday in Crete in a villa, which was very nice indeed. A couple of years later we came back to this same taverna, and we mentioned to the lady about the photo, and she said, oh, come inside, and she beckoned us inside, and on the wall was that very same picture that I had taken. It was her father. A few more years later we came back again, there was somebody different there, and we mentioned it again. The photo wasn't there this time, and they said, oh, that's our grandfather, sadly he's passed away. But anyway, what a lovely story, eh? And it's always wonderful to come back to this pretty little square and that lovely little taverna, and I think we're going to have a drink there right now. And here we are back at our little taverna again. Cheers.
Yamas.
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 And I have a frappe. I love my Greek frappes.
Iced tea.
Iced tea. We're being very good because we're driving right in front of the Dourakis tower here in beautiful Castania. Just imagine how wonderful this square is on an October evening. It's dark, but there's all lights along the walls, the smell of the cooking chestnuts and the music and the dancing. Yeah, we'll have to come later in the year one time and do that. So there you go, we just had a lovely lunch there, really very nice indeed. And the lovely thing was that the grandson who was waiting on, who was the grandson of the old gentleman I took the picture of, he explained to his mother, the old gentleman's daughter, and she remembered the picture. Isn't that just lovely? Right, I think we're going to have a look inside the Dourakis tower. Well, there's nothing in here, but it's all been restored very nicely up onto the higher floor. Some information boards there, and a view across the rooftops, and a very steep little staircase up to the top. Come on then, let's do it. The very top part of the tower there. I don't think I'm going to go any further up. I've had a bit of vertigo lately and I think that will be pushing my luck. But anyway, nice view back down to the taverna where we were just sitting. And I made it back down. Tell you what, I was glad to get down those steps. It was very steep. I had to put the camera away. I wasn't going to film that at the same time. I think it could have well have ended in tears. Phew, it's made my palms go sweaty, that does. Anyway, that was a lovely visit to Castania. We enjoyed it as always, did we not?
It was lovely, and the lady would just sort of kept touching her heart, thanking us.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Really lovely.
And that's what the Greek people are like, such lovely, lovely people. Right, thank you very much. Another lovely visit to Castania. And we'll finish off this little trio of Greek mountain villages right here in NEOHORI, and we're starting at what some of our friends call the Round Bar. That's because they can't pronounce the Greek name of it, which is very long. And this is run by our lovely friend Maria, who does the most wonderful meals, and all with a fabulous view as well. And they've got the most wonderful eating area here. We had a meal right here the other night, and we're coming again to celebrate Maria's 10 years of running this place with her husband. And just look at the view you get from here. Isn't it stunning? Right down to Stoupa over there and along the coast towards Agnik that way. Just beautiful. Yeah, we'll be back here in just a couple of nights. Yeah, can you say that? Something to do with Metse Taverna anyway. And it really is a lovely place to come for a meal. You can either sit under there or where I've just shown you, and they've got another very nice terrace for eating just here as well. So when we first visited NEOHORI back in 2005, quite a large part of this village was derelict. But in the years since then, a lot of the houses have been done up. Still some awaiting restoration, mainly by foreigners, I think, by initially Brits before Brexit, and in more recent years Germans, Austrians, French, Scandinavians. And it's now turning into a really lovely village. A lot of modern houses have been built on the edge of NEOHORI, but this is the old village centre, which still has a lot of character. Here's another one that would definitely be described as a doer-upper, but you can still see the old oven area there, and down there as well. Yeah, I think that's maybe beyond restoration, that one. And then right next door, look at this. Hasn't it been beautifully done? It's sort of in the old style, but modern at the same time. Yeah, really lovely. And this brings you out into this little square, the first of the two main churches in NEOHORI. I think this is Agios Nikolaos again, St. Nicholas. There's a lot of those in this area. A lovely little church, and it's also where you can find the local graveyard as well. And here we are, hats off, and another beautiful little Greek graveyard. This one is so peaceful, so pretty. Once again, none of the graves very old, but all festooned with decorations, little religious icons, and of course the picture of the deceased. And of course up those steps, once again in the corner, the ossuary. And just off the church square is a lovely little passageway leading down to more houses. Just so full of character, this, isn't it? Look at this. Wow. Anybody living here or not? It doesn't look like in that bit. There's a door that's been bricked up. And another one of these Greek colourful iron gates. Quite often the gate to an inner courtyard or a little garden. Back into the side streets. And here in this part of Greece, and probably through most of the country, you don't get a door-to-door postal service like you do in the UK. Most of the posts and the parcels is generally taken to a collection point. Here in NEOHORI, it's the supermarket. But the houses still have a number. This one is 67. You'll see it's 67N. The N will stand for NEOHORI. So in Stoupa, it would be an S. In Lefkatron, another nearby village, it would be an L. And so that's number 67 of NEOHORI. It's as simple as that. But they don't get a door-to-door delivery service, although you still find quite often you get all that commercial rubbish advertising some local supermarket or whatever else it happens to be. So you still get those if you've got somewhere to put it. Some of the houses have got letterboxes, but if you want your normal letters and your parcels, no, you have to go to the supermarket. Here's another lovely little square. That's a beautiful house, isn't it? That's a really spacious house. Yeah. This is the Platea I Choreitra. Platea I Choreitra. Gorgeous. Lots of little alleyways, and once again, nobody around. Here's number 86, NEOHORI, with its colourful door. And I think if we go this way, it should take us to the main church. Here's another bakery tucked away here in the side streets. I love the mural on the wall. That's lovely, isn't it? And sometimes we've walked along here and it's been open, and the smell, as you can imagine, absolutely beautiful. Looks like it's been here since 1970. Could it feel more Greek than this, wandering along one of these beautiful old alleyways and the sound of Greek music coming out of somebody's house? Probably not amusing for the neighbours, but it's very nice for us. Can you hear that? My goodness me. Entertaining the whole of the village. And here's a lovely old mill wheel here in the corner. Gorgeous. Yeah, I can't quite figure out where that music's coming from. It seems to be reflecting off all the walls. You can hear it across the whole of the village. Anyway, here we are, nearly by the main church. Let's see how this has changed since we were last here. So here's another taverna, one of only two tavernas here in NEOHORI, the other one the round bar that we showed you at the start. And here is the main church. It's Saturday, and as you can see, it's all being set up for a wedding. Another one. Maybe this is the wedding reception for the one that we saw at Pergos. Yeah. Could well be, couldn't it? Yeah. That is a big do. There's a lot of people going to be coming here. Imagine what the atmosphere is going to be like this evening here. And there's the main church, isn't it lovely? There's a friend of ours called Vageli who lives in this area. He got married here at this church a few years ago. And I remember seeing the videos on Facebook of his wedding, and as they came out of that door, there were guys lining up either side of them, firing live bullets into the air. Absolutely amazing.
Can you imagine this tonight? Just look how beautiful those tables are set. Crystal glasses, candles, gorgeous.
for the man and
The bridesmaids?
Yes. Just a moment.
Beautiful. Oh, look at this. Oh, how gorgeous. Oh, somebody's been busy. Have you made them? It doesn't blow.
The brides.
Oh, the flowers and everything. It looks so gorgeous. You will have such a fabulous time. And the flowers. Oh, thank you so much. And the his and hers chairs as well. I think they'll move the flowers before they sit on them though.
Looks like maybe this is where the bride and groom are going to be coming before or after the wedding. See all the lace going up the stairs. Lovely little area to sit. This is actually an old electrical store from years gone by. You can just see on the sign where it says Electro at the top of it. Oh, I nearly had a shock then. I thought it was a Royal Mail van waiting for me. Do a little bit of an extra shift. Phew, thank goodness for that. There's a very little chapel here. Lovely little church. It's not that old, I don't think. And I remember when we first saw this, it was on its own totally. Now you can just see over the top of it, there's a new property being built. And straight across the lane, here's another beautiful house that's been put up over the last few years as well. That is a very nice property. And if you were to follow this track further up, it turns into a footpath. There's quite a trail of footpaths up here. And if you followed it all the way, you would come out in Castania, which is where we just were, which is right up there in the dip in the mountains. Yeah, very nice house indeed. I love the barbecue area and the little swimming pool there as well. And then looking out across the mountains. Very nice. Yeah, that would do. This is the little village hall, the community centre in NEOHORI. Very well used. And we used to have a friend here called Kathy who lived here for a number of years. She's back in the UK now. And she used to be part of the local amateur dramatic society, and that's where they used to do their rehearsals. And I think there's all sorts of bits and pieces like that go on in there as well, which is great to see, isn't it? Yep, back at the site of the wedding. Now there's a fruit and veg van that comes down from Kalamata. It used to be every day, and now I think it's just maybe 3 times a week. They used to call him Disco Man because as he approached up the lane he would be playing loud Greek music out of his speakers. I remember one time a few years ago they parked it up here, and there was an elderly lady who lived up in one of these upper windows, and she lowered down a basket on a rope, and they loaded up what she wanted, the fruit and veg and the bread and all that sort of stuff, and she pulled it back up. It was a lovely sight to see.
Yeah, it's fab.
This is going to be quite an enormous do. The atmosphere here later is going to be rip-roaring, that's for sure. See all the hot serving plates here that are going to be used later on for all the hot food. Wow. I've always loved this door for some reason. It's rusty, it's probably not been opened in generations, but it's just so full of character, and the rust still mixing with the blues and the yellows of the colours that once were there. Fancy number 103. Looks like it could well be up for grabs.
Ah, no roof.
Ah. Oh yes. What a lovely leafy terrace. And 2 very sleepy little pussycats. Hello you two. Sorry, did I wake you up? Looks like this would have been a shop back in the day. Long since disused, and nobody living there by the looks of it. Want to buy a little business? There you go. Could be your opening. And here we are back at the round bar. Lovely Maria. We'll be having some of her wonderful food again in a couple of days. Here's our car. And that's the village supermarket. So that's where all the post and parcels go to. It's a very good little shop actually, and a reliable service as well. We sent a parcel or something over to our friend who lives here in NEOHORI a while back, and I think it arrived within a week or so. And here we are back at this lovely little terrace, and that's exactly where we'll be sitting for our meal this coming Monday.
It's actually a celebration on Monday because Maria is celebrating 10 years since she opened here with Hugo.
Fantastic.
So we've been invited to the party.
Yeah, which is going to be quite amazing. And so there we are. I think that's a wrap for today. So we visited 3 mountain villages, all easily accessible by car from the resorts of Stoupa and Agios Nikolaos. So we started off in Pergos, we went up into the mountains to the wonderful village of Castania, and finished off here in NEOHORI.
Yes, and saw them setting up for what will be the most glorious wedding.
Fabulous, absolutely wonderful. So there will be more videos from Greece in this little series, so I hope you'll join us for those and take a look at some of our others as well. Those videos from around Devon and Cornwall, from Spain and all across Europe and other places as well. So maybe subscribe if you'd like to watch some more, then you'll always be kept in touch with which new videos are up and coming. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day and we will see you again very soon. Bye bye for now.
Bye!
Bye! Yamas, Yasas, Kalispera.